Howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 204. Another look at questions. We're going to take a peek at another 5 questions that Tolemycus provided for us. And Charles is in early with Evening All, and then Tolemycus is here, and he says, "You might be a gamer if you answer every invitation to social events like funerals, for example, with, I'll see if there's a tournament that weekend." And we've got Chris Long, eh? He says, "Heyo, how you doing, Chris Long? Welcome, welcome, welcome." Um, no gaming this past week. Nothing coming up in the near future. Well, I say that in about 2.5 weeks, Daikon is happening. Um, I'm going to be looking to go to that. Maybe, possibly, definitely. I don't know. I gotta get with my brother Jay on that. See what his plans are. See what he wants to do. But my understanding is that there will be some Wiley games there of some permutation. Um, Whether we take it or they just have it there, I'm not sure what's going to happen. I At this point in time, being 2.5 weeks out, I'm not really planning on taking anything with me. Um, but yeah, that's what we got going in about 2.5 weeks is Daikon in the St. Louis area. And if you want to join the fun, you can travel to St. Louis and check out Daikon. Now, Reese won't be going to that because he'll be recuperating from his trip to the middle of the Pacific Ocean, where he'll get a chance to see Mighty Mo and remember Arizona and uh, get some time on Ford Island as he and his family get to travel to the beautiful state of Hawaii. So he will not be here next week. We will miss him, but he will be having fun. And I won't share anything that he sends to me. I will wait for him to come back and give us the highlights because I'm sure there won't be lowlights. So, as always, we want to tell everybody go over to wiley-games.com to pick up their copy of whatever version of Fistful of Lead or Arena of Blood they want, or cards, or 3D printed stuff, or scenario packs, or T-shirts, or cups. Um, they've got the different face card mugs available. Um, I was I had originally meant to order the King of Spades for Galactic Heroes, which is Darth Vader, but I got Kirk instead because I ordered wrong because I'm an idiot sometimes. But you know what? Hey, I dig Kirk. He's pretty cool. He's pretty cool. So yeah, they got him there. You can also get a Battles and Brews cup. Uh, those are still available. $10 gets you a Battle and Brews cup. So if you can't make it to Battle and Brews, which might end up being in August this year, in Independence, you can still share the fun by getting a cup. Again, that's wiley-games.com, and to get a 20% discount off your entire purchase, every time you purchase, use the coupon code NOTJAY, NOTJAY, when you're checking out. So, there you have it. What have you been working on, Mr. Reese? Anything good?
Not a whole lot. Been magnetizing some 1/600 planes for Levin Knott. We'll
Yeah,
be priming them up and getting them in proper colors.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
been a whole lot of work this week.
You've been busting your ass with cows.
I have, and busting
So
cows' asses too.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Um, Hold on 1 second. Bear with me. Got to answer a quick question. All right. There we go. Scala Gremlin's in the house. He says, "Hey all, how you doing, Scala? Glad you could make it." Walkabout says, "I need to send you some files soon to test print." Yes, I will be happy to test print those. Tolemycus says, "Avoid the volcanoes." Are y'all going to the Big Island at all?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think we're going to stay mostly on Oahu.
All right. And that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I know we're going up to some of the ranches on the North Shore because
Yeah.
I come from a family of cowboys. We cowboy on our vacations too.
There you go. There you go. Hey, that's what it takes, right?
It does, so
Walkabout Game says moo.
Moo.
Random question with Ocean Thunder: how many ships per side would be a typical game? Well, the great thing about Ocean Thunder is it's very scalable. I have played Denmark Strait, and I have played Battle of River Plate with McMurray, and it plays really well. It especially at 1/6000 scale when you're actually at 2 scale. Did I say 1/600? I meant 1/6000. I meant 1/6000. So that works real well. And then I've also done First Battle of Savo Island with, what's that, 8 Japanese ships and about a dozen American ships. And I could go even bigger. How big was that game that we played Tacticon last year?
Was it 14 and 14?
Yeah, I think it was 14 and 14. And I also put together everything for Battle of Matapan. But because the ships were 1/3000 scale, I didn't feel I had quite enough space to have them all on there. It would have played fine if I had a big enough table. So it scales really well. I would say each player should not have more, until they really know the rules inside and out. Each player should not have more than 4 or 5 ships.
I would second that as a new player.
But they're gonna pick it up fast. I mean, the thing that even when I first started hosting the game at conventions back in the mid '90s, nobody had ever seen the game before at all, and I gave them a quick rundown of the basics of the game, and by the second turn, I was pretty much superfluous. In fact, I was able to get up and walk away from the table and go get a drink or go chat with somebody and not be bothered by the players that literally had never played the game before. They were running the game for me within 2 or 3 turns. So people pick it up fast. I think it's pretty intuitive, because all of the math is already done for you. You're just rolling dice and seeing where the shells fall, to be honest. So Chris Long says, "I'm from cow country. Nothing wrong with cowboying on vacation." There you go. Now, is cow country, is that Manitoba and Saskatchewan? If so, I guess I nailed it. Yeah, it is good, Scala. I do need to finish it up, because I think I mean, I'm not going to make a living off of it, but I think it would do pretty well out there. Charles says, good teacher, good game. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. And Jeffy's in the house with Moo, eh? That would be a Canadian cow.
It would. Hopefully, we not to get political, but hopefully we don't stop the importation of Canadian cattle like we just did for Mexican cattle.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
and I'm just from a screwworm perspective. If we can get the screwworm thing beat, that'd be great.
yeah. Yep. Oh, okay. Fraser Valley, BC, dairy and beef cattle. There you go. So I suspect that's going to be very similar to Wisconsin, but
You said
with
Fraser, and I've
with
got Stan Rogers stuck in my head.
yeah, but probably with more mountains being in BC. I know there's flat areas in BC, just like there's flat areas in Washington. But when you think Pacific Northwest, you think pine trees and mountains. At least I do. So, um, and if you are looking to make a cowboy game, there's no better way to make your miniatures look great with either your plains or your uh, your prairies than with the base ready material from geekgamingusa.com, Geek Gaming Scenics. Head on over to geekgamingusa.com, picking up your fast drying basing glue as well as your uh, base ready material. The Mediterranean actually works pretty well for open prairie, and then they've got the, what is it called? I think it's called the forest floor ground cover is great for like Battle of Indoor stuff. Um, it's called Apache Plains. Not Apache Plains, but Patchy Plains. Great for your scrub, your scrub stuff. Like when I think of the Apache Plains, I'm thinking about Southwest Texas and the Chihuahuan Desert. So, um, let's see here. Charles says, "Do you think we can swap Washington for Alberta?" Hey, there's nothing better than Alberta beef. If you know, you know. Scholar Gremlin, first time I went to Kamloops, BC, came through the Fraser Valley and was expecting to see igloos and polar bears as far as the eye could see. Instead, ran into a desert. Blogbot says, trade the whole West Coast. There you go. Charles says, there is gold in the Fraser River. There's gold up in them there hills. So, yeah, so we were able to talk about our two sponsors. Got caught up with what Reese has been doing with cows and where he is off to next. So let's go ahead and dive into some of these questions here.
And I did get an update from McMurray. He will be here as soon as it's on.
Okay. Game mechanics and flow are the title for these next 5 questions. Let's see. How do you manage pacing during a game to avoid long waits between turns? Well, I do it by choosing rules that don't have long waits between turns. Obviously, with Fistful of Lead, your turn can come up at any point based off of how the cards are dealt. Now, that being said, there have been times when I've gotten, a king, and then a 4, 2, 3s, and a 2. But it's make it interesting for the make the action interesting for the players that are having to wait. Uh, so it's it's the scenario that you're working with. It's the rule set that you're working with, because Fistful of Blood, like I said, for the most part, you don't have long waits normally, because your card could your card comes up and you have to be there ready to go with knowing what you want to do. Another the other game that I use a lot is Force on Force, and with its reaction mechanic. Yeah, it's Reese's turn, but if I see you know, his his U.S. Marines crossing the street, and my Viet Cong are there, I have the chance of opening up on him. I have to be paying attention. So and that and that's why I don't like playing I go you go games. Yeah, I played I played my fair share of Warhammer and Fantasy Battle and Warhammer 40K, um, and to and to some extent my games that I go you go. But again, because the players are interacting with one another in my game more so, there's not a lot of waiting going on. Uh, so I mean that's that's how I do it. Um, Reese is probably going to say something very similar.
I have nothing else to add, actually. Adding, I'll say randomized activations, but having some sort of activation system that's not, I'm going to move all my 50,000 troops, and then you're going to move all your 50,000 troops. Because if I wanted to play Axis and Allies, I'll play Axis and Allies.
Right.
I want to play. I want to play a game that's a little more interactive.
Yeah.
I rest my case, and that's nothing against Axis and Allies. I love Axis and Allies.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it's board games are different because I guess it's because it's a wider scope that you're dealing with on a lot of board games. Um, so it's not so much small unit tactics where a single a single set of die rolls can quickly change the course of the battle. Um, that rarely happens on a board game. Just because you take you roll really well in Irkutsk in Risk isn't going to drastically affect what happens over in Western Australia. Whereas on a tabletop game or a miniatures game, if I got this unit over here that just completely obliterated this other unit, well, now this unit has to worry about, not only Unit A, but also Unit B coming at them. So, board games are a little different in that. Now, there are some differences when you're looking at more tactical board games like Advanced Squad Leader or any of the lock and load games, because honestly, lock and load games, in my honest opinion, are miniature games on hexes without miniatures. Which again, nothing wrong with that either, but it's a different feel. When I'm pushing an entire regiment from here to here to go up against your entire regiment over here, uh, I just being able to sit back and watch the whole thing happen and looking at all of the different places that things are happening. Um, it's to me, it's not as it allows me. It keeps my interest better than on a miniatures game where you're moving your 112 orcs, and you're moving one at a time, and or I'm moving my 230 Tyranids. So I don't know. That's just me. Um, Charles suggests die roll penalties if the players take too long. I mean, if you want to get really draconian about it, sure, you could do that. I guess.
And especially if
Um,
you're running a game that is something that's supposed to replicate an action that is under surprise or under duress, that would be really fun.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Hexy says, I think this is why I am a solo gamer, too impatient to wait. I get that. I absolutely get that. Especially, again, like I said, especially with board games. Um, now, if it's a board game, what you could always do is grab a chess clock. I mean,
It's a good
there's
idea.
chess clocks for a reason.
That is a good idea.
So, and I guess you could do that with miniature games also.
Oh yeah,
That I think that would put a completely new dynamic to it too. That'd be interesting.
I think having a chess clock in a firefight,
Yeah,
chess
yeah,
clock and fistful, and not fistful, chess clock and force on force
yeah. That could be interesting.
would be interesting. And
Yep,
I interrupt that action.
yep, yep. Um, Chris Long says Force on Force and Ceasefire are awesome for keeping people in the game. Yeah, they are. Warmaster can be slow. Yes, absolutely. Warmaster can be slow. I play it because my buddy Joel loves the game. And I'll be honest, I I play games for the social aspect. Win, lose, or draw, I'm there to get with my friends and, you know, talk about whatever over game pieces. So, initiative, hate it and love it. Again, it depends on how initiative works. With scenario based games, a well written scenario will have your initiative rules worked into them. Who has initiative? How can one wrest the initiative from their opponent, etc. KOW uses a chess clock. Is that Kings of War? I was unaware of this. Maybe in tournament play, Kings of War uses chess clock. So, let's see. Next question: what strategies do you use to speed up play without sacrificing depth? Again, I think it has to do with the rules used and the scenarios written. Any miniature rules that have a chit draw. So I will come back to the written question. I'll answer Hex's first. The games from Warlord, Bolt Action has essentially a chit draw. What they do is for every uh, distinct unit, whether it's a squad or whatever, a vehicle, what have you, you have a single die, six-sided die of your color. So the Americans are going to be olive green, the Germans are gray, Soviets are red, etc. Also, the Beyond the Gates of Antares also uses the same system, and the dice get put into the bag, and as you mix them up and you blindly pull a die out, and whoever's color that die is gets to activate one of their uh, unactivated units. Uh, so you could very easily say you've got, let's say you're the Soviets and you've got 10 conscript units, and I'm, SS Germans. I might only have 6 units because points and all that other garbage. Anyway, you conceivably could go all 10, activate all 10 of your units before I get my die pulled. Now, the odds of that happening are slim, but it could happen. More than likely, what's going to happen is the Soviet player will get 2 or 3 goes between each one of the German player goes. But it's still not an I go, you go. Walkabout Games does confirm Kings of War. Charles says Dragon Rampant. If first unit doesn't make initiative, your turn is over. I've seen where both sides have gone 3 or 4 times and didn't get to do anything. Yeah, that's excuse me. That if I remember correctly, the Rampant series of games is very similar to the Commander series, Blitzkrieg Commander, Cold War Commander, and I can't remember the Sci-Fi Commander. Where in War Masters is the granddaddy of all of them. Where you've got a commander that you roll your dice and see if you've got see if you roll under their command. Yeah, Future War Commander. Thank you, Telemycus. See if you roll under your unit commander's leadership ability. And if you do, then they get to activate a unit. And then you can roll again and push your luck, but as soon as you either roll double sixes or you miss a roll with if you roll double sixes at any time, your turn ends and it goes to the next player. If you roll over your command but not as double sixes, that commander is finished and none of his units can be activated, and then you can go to your next commander. So yeah, you can very much see that happening. It's happened to me, and it sucks, but it's the rules, and that's how you go. Tolemycus says, yeah, the Rampant games are notorious for that, and you can use house rules.
I've also taken a game system and inserted the initiative system for another game and do it completely. And, ran it that way.
Yeah, and I think that's where the Tolemycus goes with house rules. Mm-hmm. I can very easily see, and I'm kind of doing this with my idea for my Cold War armor, bigger battles / Battlesuit Alpha game. I'm kind of bringing several different concepts together into one to make it work the way I want it to work. So, let's see. At any point in time, you can jump in, Reese. I
know, and I will. I don't have a lot to say because you're covering the bases pretty good right now. So,
well, I've only been doing this for like, I don't know, 40 years.
Long time.
How do you handle rule interpretations when a situation isn't covered explicitly in the rule book? That's easy. If the 2 players or the multiple players can't agree on how something should be interpreted, opposing roll. The person who wins the roll gets to decide what is uh, how the rule is to be interpreted, and it is interpreted that way for the rest of the game. If I am running a game at a convention, I make a decision, and that decision stands for the rest of the game. Um, the only time I don't want to do that is when I'm doing a teaching game where I'm teaching people how to play the game for the first time, where there are no players that have ever played the game. Um, I will go. I will do a quick, you know, look through the book to confirm that there's not anything that, uh, explicitly states that this is how you handle something. Explain that in this situation there is not a particular way to handle this, so this is what we're going to do. Um, because I want to teach people, and that's the other thing when you're doing games at a convention, in a convention setting, or at a demo day at a game store. Don't don't use house rules. Um, if for whatever reason you decide you must use house rules, and there should never really be a reason to use house rules, but if you do feel like you have to use a house rule, explain to people this is a rule that I have added. It is not in the book. Um, because I I don't want people thinking that, you know, Jay Wiley or Sean Carpenter put in this esoteric rule that doesn't seem to jive with the rest of the rules, and put them off from the game. So I do my very best to not use house rules. Now I did use a house rule. I did house rule in uh, Force on Force when I limited the number of reactions, just because I had seen too many times where a reaction begat a reaction begat a reaction begat a reaction, and it was just ridiculous.
And next thing you know, you're reading the book of numbers.
Exactly, exactly. For those that know, for those who know, that they know. Um, but yeah, it's, you know, and how I positioned it was, okay. The game is very much involved with, it's a core part of the game, the reaction mechanic. But I don't want people to think that, you only get two reactions, the initial reaction and a reaction to that reaction. If you want to play it where you have, you could conceivably have four, five, six reactions, by all means, you can do it. This is, you use the same procedure. It's just in in a convention game, in a learning game, you don't want to overstep that or overstate that to slow things down. So, again, house rules are great. I've got, hell, Ocean Thunder came out of house rules. Um, your airplane game came out of, house rules.
Yes, it did.
So house rules have a place, but if you are introducing a published game to people as a, hey, this is a fun game to play, I really like it, why don't you learn how to play it so we can have more, chances to play other people? Don't house rule. What's your approach to tracking game state, damage, and ongoing effects in a campaign?
Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah. So that to me, that's three different situations there. The first two, um, well, game state is, um, where you're playing the. No, I'm kidding. Game state is Missouri. No, um, it is. Game state to me is, like who's got initiative, who is whose turn it is, that type of thing. Damage is can be both in game and uh, in campaign. Obviously, in game damage depends on the game that I'm playing. If it's Ocean Thunder, it's all done on the ship charts. You know, all the damage is tracked right here. If it's a game like in Fistful of Lead, tokens, little blood splots for wounds, little
It,
yellow stars for shock.
and a lot
Uh,
of people like to put those tokens that are aesthetically pleasing on the board.
mm-hmm.
I differ in that, especially in Fistful of Lead. I like to be able to put those tokens on the
On
card
the cards.
and keep the game table clean.
Yeah.
So you can look out there, and it also, you know, I don't talk about it much, but it also doesn't let the enemy look at your models and initially say, well, that guy's got that many shock or that guy's got that many
Yeah.
wounds. Because if you're in a firefight, you're not going to go, well, I've hit that guy twice. Let me see if I can hit him again. You're going to say, that guy pulled out a machine gun and I'm taking him out before he takes out my guys.
Exactly. Yeah. Now,
So,
again, in a convention setting where I'm teaching people how to play the game, you put them out there to show. But if it's just you and me, yeah, I'm putting
oh,
them
yeah.
on my card.
And I'm telling you, at J3, I'm going to require the markers to be on the cards for
Yeah,
a
because
couple of
it
different
also
reasons.
provides better pictures. Let's be honest.
That too. But I'm mixing some stuff up for J3 that some
Yes.
people may like, some people may hate. Um, and I'm running some pretty heavy traded and heavily armed guys.
Yep.
And so in order to combat the complexity of that, I'm reducing how many people they're running. And I
Right.
want them to be able to track, okay, this gun's currently out of ammo. Do I draw my secondary or do I slap a new belt in this machine gun and get to rock
Right.
and roll?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
anyway,
Um, so that's how you handle it in game. Now, for a campaign, obviously, in a campaign, you're gonna need a spreadsheet of some sort, whether it's computerized or it is manually worked out. And you're writing stuff on a board, like a dry erase board or something. Um, Especially if it's a campaign where you carry injuries over, and it doesn't matter whether it's an individual character that is been wounded that needs to get uh, get fixed up, or it's a game of platoons. This platoon got damaged to the point where they won't be ready for X number of weeks because they need replacement equipment or replacement uh, uh, soldiers or what have you. Uh, or individual characters, oh, he broke his leg. He is out for, you know, 6 weeks. Or he got shot, but it was, his toe got shot off. So they, bandaged him up and put his boot back on, and he can, if he's really, really needed, he can be back out in a week or two. Um, Not that, having your toe shot off isn't fun, but, you know, um, I'm sure there were times in the Civil War where a general had his leg cut off and he was back out, you know, in the next battle a month or so later. So I mean, Anyway, so yeah, that's just, and it's really dependent on how fancy you want to make it. I mean, if this is a campaign that you're running at a game store or at your game club, uh, you know, get a magnetic wide erase board, dry erase board, and have unit markers or tokens representative of the characters, and show just like the squadron rooms had for the B-17s during World War II. It showed which airplanes were in which condition to be able to be used, etc. Do something like that. Make it interesting to your players. Um, don't just have it, on a spreadsheet on your computer or in your notebook and hidden.
or put
Present
it
it.
in a newsletter.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and if you're the creative type, make that newsletter be like a newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's I'm lucky enough that my brother and a lot of his player and a lot of our friends and gaming buddies are very very uh, wordy, for lack of a better term. They like Mike Burke he is an author. He's written a lot of different stories, and so he can write not only write a backstory, but he can take a battle rap, and make it into a story like it was a news article and present that. You know, if you have that ability, or you have somebody in your campaign group that has that ability, you know, lean into it. Um, with 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 the computer with our computers today, take pictures. Everybody, just about everybody has a space phone that takes pictures. Take pictures of the action. Um, I really like getting down into the game and do my best not to get pictures, you know, stuff off the board in the background, so it looks like it puts you into the action. Again, lean into that. Have fun with it. Get your players excited. Have your players submit their stories. You know that that's what I would do. Um, Charles says I've had some ideas pop in my head about initiative and maybe how to fix it, but I'll have to weigh it depending whether there's 50 figures on the table or 3 or 400 on the table. Yep, definitely. You would definitely need to do that. And Charles agrees with you, Reese, on the counters. Um, Chris Long has a 4x5 dry erase board that's magnetic. Scalar Gremlin says World Anvil. It's typically for RPGs, but very usable for wargaming campaigns. There you go. Uh, the way I look at campaigns is it's a way to RPG with miniatures games
Mm-hmm.
to an extent. So
And anybody that's talked to me much knows I love campaigns. That's what I live and breathe for. I mean,
oh
I'll
yeah,
put minis on a table and fight you any day, but I would much prefer some
a
sort of
campaign.
campaign, some sort of story.
Yeah. Well,
So,
yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to the future, to be able to take advantage of some of that.
yes, I
So
think what we're working on is awesome. I know both of us have a lot coming up this summer that may delay it, but when we finally get this put
yes,
together, it's going to be good. It's going to
yeah,
be great.
it's definitely going to. make appearance on both channels. Definitely mine, and you know we'll co-create and put stuff up on yours also.
For sure.
So, so I hope that answered the question about tracking. And then lastly, do you recommend house rules for specific games? And if so, how do you implement them effectively? Again, when I'm playing at home with my friends, we agree on, we'll play a game as written, and then we'll think, I really don't like how that plays out. Let's try this. Um, let's test it this way. And if it works and everybody that is playing likes how uh, how it plays out literally, then we'll implement it that way, and continue to play it in that fashion when we're at home. Um, if we go to a game convention or we go to a game store and do a demo day, we agree going in that we are not going to utilize the house rules unless it is something that is, exactly like what I was saying with Force on Force, where it actually helps speed up the game. But again, it's something that you have to make sure you tell your players we're utilizing a house rule, and this is why. This is not a sanctioned rule change by the creator. It's not something you will find in the book. It is just something that we do, especially in a learning environment. Andrew Mike says, house rules, you need to turn in 4 houses and then you can build a hotel. Exactly. That's exactly right. And actually, Monopoly probably has more house rules uh, per player, per family, than just about any other board game
So,
I've ever known.
is the 4 houses before a hotel not in the rule book?
No, it is.
Okay, I was
He's
like,
just making a joke about
okay, it's like that's
house
a
rules.
house rule. My Monopoly strategy has
Yeah.
been very flawed.
So like the whenever you get taxed or community chest or whatever, and you throw money into the center, and if you
Yeah,
land on the free
that's.
parking, that's a house rule.
Mm-hmm.
Mick Murray,
Good evening, gentlemen.
how are you,
How we
sir?
doing?
We're doing great.
You know, I am the good kind of tired, as I told my boss today.
You mean a lot of work tired? Good for your soul tired?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. This was last weekend was a 46-hour weekend.
Goodness.
Wow.
It was a good time.
We had scheduled today and tomorrow to do the work that we accomplished today.
Fuck yeah.
And
so,
that
you get to slack off tomorrow, right?
no. Because that starts a process that needs to be finished quickly. But and that also involved the support truck getting stuck in 2 feet of mud. So that was.
See, that's not how you presented it.
No, but when we're going another mile and the truck can't move, we have lost the support truck to our use. So, yes, I said we lost a truck in the mud, I think is how I phrased
Yeah,
it.
you did. It's like, how deep is that mud?
Deep. Think mouse trials deep.
Well, the crew made short work of offloading all the beer, and then they didn't care too much. Got back.
Hell yeah.
So,
well, priorities are important. I was about to say, have you guys ever seen that picture of one of the 2 mouse prototypes? Well, it had to be the one that had the actual turret on it. But yeah, where it is buried up to the turret in mud.
Yes.
It's kind of one of those, hey, dinguses, maybe we need to lighten this thing up a little bit or just figure something else out.
Yeah, or put
Like,
it on a rail.
or, bear with me here, just make Panthers and Stugs.
Or just Panzer fours.
Well, the issue is a Panzer IV by 1944, Albert Speer had done a good enough job that a Panther was cheaper to produce than a Panzer IV.
Then there you go.
So, like, he's a fucking Nazi psychopath, but at least he figured out production on that one.
While that we are off topic and before we come back on topic, I have found photos that I have never seen before of the sniper rifle model of 1918 for the United States.
What is the topic? My bad.
No, it's okay. We're just we're going through questions that have been asked.
Oh, okay.
But
Charles, I kind of wish it was fucking awesome and beautiful, and it has the greatest game store that I've ever set foot in or seen. Walkabout, I am pumped to test your files. I played some 2mm last night, and we had a great time. And those guys are now super duper into, hey, we need to play a lot of small scale wargaming. Dunzo. Done. Exceptionally excited about that Walkabout. You're the man, Chris Long. Whew. It is 9:00. Fuck.
tired?
Yeah, I'll be back at work in 8 hours.
If you need to get some sleep, go get some sleep.
That's probably a good idea. There's probably a lot of stuff I need to do. Like get some sleep, probably eat something. Definitely need to shower. But what is the topic tonight? I'm sorry.
We dove back into the list of questions that Tolemycus had forwarded to me.
Oh, outstanding.
And I mean, and we'll touch base on all of them again now that you're here. I have no problem with that.
All right, lightning round. Let's do this, man.
Hold on.
Here's to hoping I have some sort of fresh fruit in this house.
I'm not going to ask why.
Just so that I have something that's semi-cool and refreshing to eat.
Gotcha.
Because your mom's coming over later.
I wouldn't be surprised. Put fresh fruit on the table, my mother tends to show up.
That's reasonable. That's also quite wholesome, and it makes me happy.
All right. The broad category is game mechanics and flow. The first question was, how do you manage pacing during a game to avoid long waits between turns?
Depends on the game. Honestly, it seems like more and more games nowadays are doing that, like just by their own mechanics, whether that's card activation or mixed activation or I go, you go alternating units. I, for the most part, have stopped playing most full I go, you go systems where one side moves, shoots, does everything, and then it's the other side's turn, because those really do drag along. I mean, like the game I probably enjoyed the most with that system was Flames of War, but still, like it does kind of suck to have just, you're playing a game and then there's 45 minutes where you're just kind of watching somebody else do stuff. But that's the big thing when it's like gamer dependent, it gets a little stickier. Um, depending on the game, dude, I've met people who use like timers,
Yeah.
which is always entertaining. Uh, but if it's fistful of lead and you don't answer, you don't go.
Right.
As I have experienced.
Reese didn't answer. What's the next one, Chris?
What strategies do you use to speed up play without sacrificing depth?
Honestly, my biggest thing is rules familiarity.
Yeah.
Rules familiarity, and then as efficient of quick reference sheets as I can for quick reference sheets and plays in general.
I know I'm bad at answering to my name, but you don't have to kick or answer to my card, but you don't have to kick me for it.
That was the joke. As soon as you left, it was Reese didn't answer. But yeah, the biggest things that I found are good quick reference sheets and play aids for the players, so that they can kind of be looking at it and thinking about stuff before it actually comes to, okay, here's what I'm doing. / rules familiarity, so that if there's a hesitation, you can just tell them the answer.
There you go. How do you handle rule interpretations when a situation isn't covered explicitly in the rule book?
Am I running a game or am I arguing with someone?
We'll go first one, then the other.
First one, make a call.
Yep.
Make a call. Make a call, go with it. Just make sure you're using the same rules for everybody the whole game.
Right.
Some people do it turn by turn. In some cases, that's cool. That's fine. It almost always leads to hurt feelings at the end of the game where, well, my thing earlier in the game really screwed me later in the game when we fixed it. On one hand, yeah, dude, that blows. But on the other hand, if you just maintain it and point out, especially I usually like to reiterate at the end of the game, okay, don't forget we did that wrong. Next time we got to fix it.
Yep.
If I'm arguing with somebody, I don't give a shit. They can do whatever they want to, and I probably won't play with them again.
These are also the same people that tend to complain about 14 machine guns shooting somebody in the face.
And that's my point, is that if we can't figure it out and just work it out, mutually agreeable, cool, whatever, do what you want to, that's fine. It's just probably the last game I'm going to play with you.
Yeah, get out of my swamp.
Yep. What's the next one, Chris? We're firing these bad boys off.
What's your approach to tracking game state, damage, and ongoing effects in a campaign?
People hate them. I really like troop rosters. So, like, you get it a lot with naval games where you're supposed to have, 8 million little counters or chits following something around on the table. That bugs the shit out of me. I'd much rather put a tuft of smoke on something to show that it's damaged and you need to look at your roster, or just straight rosters.
How about campaign, in a campaign?
Oh,
If something's not destroyed, how would you go about tracking it when it can come back?
In doing a lot of random campaigns with various things on a tactical level, I really like the style that Chain of Command uses with at the sharp end for determining like casualties, when casualties might come back or not come back. Where you essentially have like a little recovery track, for lack of a better term, which essentially means like it's a die roll, but for the most part, anywhere from a third to half are dead or permanently debilitated, don't come back. And then you've got some that'll be back the next game and some that'll be back in whatever number of games is appropriate.
All right. And then the final question we had was, do you recommend house rules for specific games? And if so, how do you implement them effectively?
Sometimes yes, usually no. Um, there's a lot of especially historical gamers around the local area that really, really, really like house rules. The issue that's then created is a lot of times house rules are generated after playing a game or two when you might not have fully, discovered how everything plays into everything else. Um, and B, it usually winds up with, oh, okay, so and so is putting on a game of, let's say, bolt action. Oh, but they have some house rules. Okay. And then, next week or next month, so and so is putting on a game of bolt action. Oh, but his house rules are different than this other guy's, which just generates a shitload of confusion. When people are new to rules, then all of a sudden they get the rules and it's like, hey, wait a minute, this isn't how it works. Or when you get people visiting, like, oh, cool, they're playing Bolt Action, they're playing Fire and Fury. That's awesome. I love that game. I'm going to go play. Then all of a sudden you start playing. It's like, wait a minute, this isn't fucking Bolt Action. It just house rules can work if you play with the same 2 or 3 people and you all agree with the same house rules, or if you are the only person that ever puts on those games. But for the most part, I've found that they are just insanely frustrating to both game masters and players. Can invariably, you go to look something up and it's like, oh shit, that's not how we play it though. Well, fuck you. That's how it is in the rulebook. And sometimes you get rules that are not play tested, or at least nowhere thoroughly enough. And the nice thing about historical gaming is, for the most part, cool, let's try this rule set over here. Like, that was the issue with Cruel Seas from Warlord. As you can tell, they'd been playing it forever. They all understood how it was meant to be played. But sweet Jesus, man, they did not pass that book around to enough playtesters.
Right. Chris Long says QRS is so important. Absolutely.
Big time.
And then he says, I hate chits all over the table, like in Legion. I hate.
Yes.
Yeah. X-Wing was the same way.
It was. That's right.
With the chits. Yeah. I like if it's just like, you and me playing, or Reese and us playing the Fistful of Lead. All of the wounds and shock trackers are kept on the cards on the side of the table, not next to the miniatures.
Yeah. The Legion ones were particularly frustrating because it's like 8 million different weird symbols.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Some of which look obnoxiously similar if you aren't super familiar with the system. It makes it really frustrating to learn that game.
That
Yes.
particular company loves their weird symbols, their weird dice, and their weird markers.
Correct.
And there's a reason for that.
Also, yeah, on that, if your game requires specific dice, probably not going to play it. Sorry, dog.
But the reason for that is they are wanting to draw in the card gamer and the board gamer into playing with miniatures. So that's why Legion and all of those games have all of the different Giga cards and all the different tokens, is because that's what board gamers are used to dealing with, and all of the different. Well, if I take this character with this ability and he's on board at the same time that I've got this character with his ability, that's a Magic the Gathering kind of meta that I know people that love to do that. My buddy Eric, he loves the meta of the interaction of all the different stuff. I don't. He does. More power to him.
I
If
do
that's how you want
enjoy
to
how
play.
in miniatures games most of the time there is always a dice roll that can just spin that super unit right off the table,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
and it's fucking hilarious every time.
Yep. Um, Tolemycus says they just wish to assault your wallet. That's a fact. Um, Scalar Gremlin says Legion started with Fantasy Flight Games. They're a board game company that just wanted to make a war game. Absolutely, absolutely. And then Charles says after my last game, the only chits that'll be on the table will be ones to signify, okay, I moved these guys onto the next one. So if I get interrupted with grandpa duties, I don't know where I left off.
Yep. Like Todd and Jeffy really enjoy that with larger war games where they'll take little tile spacers
Yeah.
and mark stacks that have gone and shit. It's fantastic. Good for them. I get it. Yeah. Sometimes they're really helpful, but that's also just super simple. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, because it's obvious what you're looking at. You don't have to get down and look at the artwork. It's an
Yeah.
X. Means they done.
This is 3 interspersed red triangles as opposed to that one over there, which is actually 2 interspersed red triangles and 1 interspersed red diamond. Yeah.
I wish you were exaggerating, but I know
I'm not. That's what the fucking Legion counters look like to me.
No, that's exactly what they are.
Yeah. But anyways. Alrighty, guys. Well, I've thoroughly demolished that pound of strawberries. I'm going to shower and go to sleep.
Understood. Enjoy yourself.
Sorry to only be on here for a minute, gents.
Oh, that's okay. I understand. Work happens.
You all be
Something to think about.
Yeah.
I do think I will be building my sniper rifle of 1918 clone next year.
Do it.
So anyway, just
Do it. But yeah, you guys have a good one. Viewers, always good to see you. You guys be good. We'll talk to you next week.
Get rested, buddy. Take care.
Later.
All righty. So, yeah, I'm actually excited about getting those files from Chris Long.
yeah, that'd be perfect for what we're doing.
That's gonna be so fun. The fact that Legion wasn't 15 millimeter or smaller to play true big ass games is one of the greatest crimes in wargaming in the last 20 years. Agreed.
What you can do is go to Skullforge. They have much smaller scale STLs pre-scaled for that exact thing.
Yeah, because I would love to I'd love to print up a shit ton of snow troopers and a shit ton of rebel troopers at 15 millimeter. And do the Battle of Hoth on a 5x8 table using bigger battles with AT-ATs and ATSTs. And yes, it is pronounced AT-AT. It is not AT-AT. It is AT-AT. Y'all can go pound sand if you think it's called an AT-AT.
I guess I'm going to have to find some sand to pound.
It is an AT-AT. Always has been an AT-AT. Always will be an AT-AT. And no, it's not an ATST. It's an ATST or Chicken Walker. There you go. Walkabout Game says, I printed all the Skull Forge. They are awesome, tiny, epic figs. Yes, absolutely. Scout Gorilla says, preach. Those of us of a certain age. Just saying. I'm just saying. Because, we call them TIE fighters, or we don't call them TIE fighters.
But do you know why they're called TIE fighters?
Yeah, twin ion engine.
You know why they're originally called TIE fighters?
Because they look like a bow tie.
Because they look like a bow tie.
The Tolemycus says, those who have seen the
Lucas interview, the OG.
The OG Lucas interviews.
Yeah, well, Lucas can't keep anything straight in his mind of what he thinks is and what it isn't. So, I mean,
Hexy printed an entire U.S. 6mm U.S. rifle company tonight. Now, what era? I'm intrigued. Is it World War II or is it Vietnam? Is it Civil War? I'm intrigued.
and what are you gonna do with it? I'm excited to see what you do with it.
4445. Very cool. Very cool. No, Meandering Mike. It is not the TIE Corporation. It's the Sinar Corporation that built all the different TIE fighters. Sinar Fleet Systems. Yes, I am that type of Star Wars geek. all the Star Destroyers are built by QAT. Drive systems. So, yeah, Charles, 1844. He's thinking either BKC or Fistful of Toes. I have Fistful of Toes right here. I've played it a couple of times. But to be perfectly honest, I've not played it unto myself. I've only ever played it with people that have years of experience with the game. I'd like to play it again sometime. So, Chris Long says it's good at 6mm. Eventually, when I do get all my 3mm stuff done, I will play it in 3mm. So, in 3mm though, even though I will have it 1-to-1, I won't necessarily play it at 1-to-1. I will play it where it's, a tank is a platoon or whatever.
So, I took this home with me. Now I got to remember what it goes to when I get to work tomorrow.
Where does that Clovis pin go?
Yeah. Okay, nobody start anything up until we figure out where this goes.
Don't pull anything. That's the first thing you need to do is check all the trailer hitches.
Yes, check all the trailer hitches and then check all the attachments to the tractor. And then the skid steers.
Yep.
And yeah. Oh goodness.
That could be bad. Or maybe it was part of something off of the pickup that got lost.
May have been. I don't know. It'd be okay.
Cold War Commander is decent at 6mm. That's what I normally play Cold War Commander in. Is 6mm. That's what I've always played it in. I've never played it in any other scale. I know a lot of people have played it in 15 and 20mm or not 20 millimeter, 10 millimeter, because Pendragon does 10 millimeter. But I've always done it in 6 mil, and that's why I have my company of M1s, my company of M60s, my company of, or my battalion of T54s, and my battalion of T72s. Um, I never did any T64 65s because the Czechs, although built T64s and T65s, they never fielded 64s and 65s because they felt it was an inferior vehicle. So, um, I did have a lot of Gamma Goats that I made as part of my Czech army because, obviously the Czechoslovakians used. What the hell? You still hearing me? I'm just screwed up on my camera.
Yeah, I saw you. You're good.
Hold on. There we go. As I was saying, I've got Gamma Goats for the Czechoslovakians because obviously the Czechoslovakian army used Gamma Goats in 1981 as evidenced by the historical videos called Stripes. They also used, obviously, they used M48s painted up like T54s. And actually, what I did is I painted up some M48 chassis and put T54 turrets on top of them.
There you go. Only the real nerds are going to know the difference, and then they're going to laugh.
Yep. Especially when they see the Gamma Goats. So, oh man.
I need to build a Gamma
I did
Goat just to build one.
Yeah, they're cool. I mean, how often do you have a 3-cylinder, 2-stroke diesel engine moving a 6-wheel drive, mid-articulated, medium-sized vehicle?
Yeah. You really don't.
And let's be honest, there's nothing stealthy about that thing. They are loud.
Would you say 2-stroke?
Yeah, they can be run like a 2-stroke engine.
Then they're going to be loud. I have never met a 2-stroke that's quiet.
Yeah, because I guess they can run on straight kerosene if I remember correctly.
Most diesels can run on just about anything.
Yeah, but they were designed specifically to switch over to, an oil burning product. Weird. They're just weird vehicles that just look so cool. Oh, and I forgot, semi-amphibious.
Only semi.
They're supposed to be they're supposed to be amphibious. However, they can burn cooking oil in dreams. Oh, yes. Oh, good Lord.
Some guy in a Gamma Goat that got way too far ahead of everybody else. Where is everybody? I can't hear over them.
Right? Oh, man.
Oh.
No. Anywho.
It was before diesel exhaust fluid, too.
Charles says, I love 2 strokes. I'm not even going to touch that. Chris Long says, are we talking about chieftains? I mean, we could be.
That took me way too long to get.
Right. And Tolemycus, 2 strokes for different folks. Oh man. So you're going to be out next week.
Correct.
Um, hopefully, McMurray won't be too late.
Or run
Uh,
ragged. Poor guy.
yeah. Hey, my internet is just being a jerk tonight for some reason. Am I looking all stop action to you guys?
No, you. I mean, a little bit, but not terrible.
Okay. Charles says it's his dirt bike upbringing from years ago. Well, there you go. Um, and so next week, not sure what we're going to go over. It might just be a standard painted chat with McMurray. Um, we'll be waiting anxiously for you to come back and share your experiences with Hawaii and your time at Pearl Harbor. Now, I know you're spending 1 day at Pearl Harbor. You're sneaking in too? Nice.
We have one day
Nice.
dedicated to the Missouri and another dedicated to the Air Museum.
There you go. There you
As,
go.
as I've said before, we are not going out to the Arizona for a lot of different reasons, but
Yeah.
still going to be something to see.
Oh, sure.
So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I've been on USS Texas quite a few times. Uh, the first time was in 1976 when she still had concrete for her deck, because they thought that was going to be the way to keep her preserved better.
unless it's Roman
Raw.
concrete.
Right. But yeah, I've been on Texas quite a few times. I've also been on BB 55, USS North Carolina. Um, but I have yet to. Now, I have almost been aboard um, the sister ship of Massachusetts and Alabama with the South Dakota Memorial. Um, but obviously, it's not the actual ship. It's just the outline of the ship. But still pretty cool. I do want to someday actually step foot on Alabama, at least Alabama or Massachusetts, one of the two. I'd like to do both at some point. And I would really like to step foot on Missouri. Um, I've also been on USS Lexington a couple of times, but I would really like to get on Midway because as I've said many times, my stepdad was uh, was on Midway for 2 tours in Vietnam, so I think that would be cool to be able to, you know, familial connection there. Unfortunately, I can't do the same thing with my uncle Tom's carriers because if I'm not mistaken, both are making reefs in the Gulf of Mexico right now.
Which,
Oriskany and
remind me,
Ticonderoga.
Ticonderoga. Okay.
Yeah. And in fact, he was the 100,000th catch on Tycho.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when he was wanting to warn his flight mate that he was coming in too low, he didn't say, "Hey, you're coming in too low." He said, "Oh shit." So, but yeah. Again, for those that don't know, My uncle flew F-8s off of Ticonderoga and Oriskany with VF-111 Sundowners, which, by my estimation, has the coolest fin flash of all of the Navy. There you go. Meandering Mike is coming in with as many strokes as it takes.
If it's like my golf game, we'll be here all day.
Exactly. Tolemycus says too soon. There you go. So, but I hope you have a good time out in Hawaii with the family. See some Hawaiian cows. Do you like pineapple?
I love pineapple.
Man, I would knife somebody to be able to get some fresh I mean, like, out of the field fresh pineapple.
I've heard it's very different.
It is. Definitely. It's apparently it is much sweeter and much a lot more juices. So I love pineapple.
I think Tuesday night is doing the whole luau thing. So.
Oh, nice. Charles Road, Yamahas and Husqvarnas. My wife has 2 Husqvarnas. Sewing machines. Husqvarna makes sewing machines. You mean pineapple a la sewage isn't fresh? No, it's not. So, all right, guys. Well, I think we're going to go and wrap it up. We're just about an hour and a half in. Telemycus, once again, I want to thank you for your questions. We've got 5 more that we will use sometime in the future. Talking about logistics and hosting. So
that ought to be good.
I do have quite a few things to say about that. And as Reese has mentioned previously, I've got a pretty good series on the channel about preparing for convention games. So if you're interested in what I've got to say about preparing and running convention games, head on down to the channel and take a look at those videos. So give the thumbs up on everything you watch for me. I'd appreciate it. And as always, until next time, we will see you on the flip side.